Welcome to this series on the WordPress plugin boilerplate. We're going to look at how it is all wired. So the WordPress plugin boilerplate, this is a video series on the scaffolding out a plugin using this boilerplate. We're going to create a little app and it's going to have a base theme of underscores and just some Tailwind CSS just plugged in just to make it a little bit nicer. It's not important. All the theme and the plugin code and all the resources and the PDF of this PowerPoint are available on the repo. And it's going to be an events plugin that will use a custom MySQL table. We'll create our own custom REST APIs to insert our data. We'll also use the WP nonce to secure those forms. We'll see how we can use the localized script to pass JavaScript to PHP. And we'll also see how we can wire in React and JavaScript into our front-end pages or back-end pages as you wish. It's not a course on basically how to do these things. It's really on how to put these things in the WordPress plugin, and using these template examples you'll learn how to wire it all up. Special thanks how I learned. There's a tutorial series on Udemy as well as on YouTube, and thanks to Devin Vincent for maintaining this awesome project. There are a lot more links that we'll see on the next few slides. And here it is, the resources. All the resources that you might need are down here, and you can download this PDF slide. What are we going to cover? Installation, activation, deactivation, uninstall. The standard things you might do in plugins. Where do they fit into the boilerplate? How do we wire in the hooks, define constants? How do we create a sort of, not so much how we create a MySQL table, but actually where we put it on installation. How we can also just create some CRUD REST APIs. They're not a feature of the boilerplate itself, but these are the things we're going to use so that we can actually now have a scaffolded plugin that basically will cover all these different technologies. How we use localized script to be able to pass PHP variables to the JavaScript files for when we're doing fetch requests and using the REST API. How we create admin pages, menu and pages, well, where they're placed and how we actually wire them in. A lot of this you'll see the code how to do these, but it's basically how it all gets wired in. Creating front-end template in plugin to use with the page created on install. So what we'll do is once we load the plugin, it will create a couple of pages and put them into WordPress, and then we'll be able to use a filter, the page underscore template filter, to have our template within our plugin files so that we can basically redirect the front-end pages to use our plugin pages rather than having to have pages in the theme. So it's all theme independent and all things will be based in the plugin. And as I said, we'll see how we can use WP nonce to add security to our forms. And we're going to create a little basic events calendar, admin page, and the pages on the front end won't really do anything. They'll just show how everything's wired. The back end will basically show how we can use a JavaScript file to upload some data, cover some useful things about the REST API and nonces. It's all really about the wiring of a plugin, not so much about these individual technologies. That's something you need to learn yourself. And also what we'll do is basically on the front end wire in these pages that we put in programmatically with templates through using WordPress scripts, which is part of the sort of, if you're building Gutenberg blocks, it's the same npm package. How we can have a nice JavaScript file that does like an infinite scroll of posts with the REST API, as well as just how we would wire in, develop React projects and put them in so we can see them on the front end of the page. And using React.js is just a powerful JavaScript library to help with client-side awesomeness. And so by working through this process, you'll see how the boilerplate is wired, how you wire in MySQL, custom REST APIs, React.js, and self-contained plugin pages, because it's really useful to have JavaScript and JS libraries working in WordPress. It makes it for a really great platform, and they could be anything from Svelte, React, VUE. Once you've seen how you wire it in, you'll be able to use the library of your choice. And we'll basically use a generator at wpp.me that will create our plugin with our very own custom name, which is really handy rather than having to do utilities or change the default name. And as we go through, we'll look to see what the difference between the boilerplate is and when we're working with our app and where we put things. And all the resources are available. It may seem a little bit convoluted at first, and it's a little bit tricky just to get the wiring, but once you see it in action, you realize that it's a very good code structure as recommended by WordPress in their documentation. It uses the same structure, but it's also really great if you're working with teams or people working on a front end and back end, it separates everything out so people can work on individual files easily and all integrate. And once again, thanks Devin Vincent for managing this. And as we go through, we're going to look at how it's the basic structure. We're then going to look at, I've got a plugin naming details for my WordPress plugin. Where do I put it in boilerplate? Where do I put code for initial activation, deactivation, uninstall? Where do I put things if I want an admin hook, public hook, common hook? Code, how do I code in a front end page on the plugin template so it's all self-contained? How do I do my admin and menu pages? And then finally anything miscellaneous. So these will be individual videos that you can work through with the repo, and see you in the next video.